The FBI believes Hoffa was murdered by mobsters, but who was the trigger man? This investigation is still considered a missing persons case because there is no concrete evidence that Hoffa was ever killed. For decades, the mysterious disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa haunted America like a ghost that wouldn't rest. Theories swirled, mob hits, government cover-ups, secret burials, but no answers ever surfaced until now. So, you're saying your father buried Jimmy Hoffa? Yes. A team of scientists and investigators has finally uncovered the truth. However, most investigators and crime experts believe that Hoffa was murdered in a mafia hit. But instead of bringing closure, their discovery unleashed something far more disturbing. Hoffa wasn't just killed. He was deliberately erased from history. And the conspiracy didn't start with his disappearance. Nobody in this country respects what's weak. You believe me? It began years earlier when he rose through the ranks of union activism and started threatening forces far more powerful than himself. A man of power and peril. Hoffa's controversial life and final days. It's been 50 years since Jimmy Hoffa disappeared. His legend still endures today for reasons beyond theories of what happened to him. By the early 1970s, Jimmy Hoffa was no longer just a powerful labor leader. He had become a symbol of raw ambition. Our men are strong, militant, willing to fight and will not surrender, nor will they lay down the battle. Street-level power and dangerous defiance. For decades, Hoffa had built his name by standing up for working men, battling employers, and using aggressive tactics controlled by communists. And don't you use this as a sounding board for headlines for that purpose. To grow the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, IBT, into one of the largest and most influential unions in America. But behind the public image of a tough but effective organizer was a man with deep tangled ties to organized crime. Hoffa's rise had always been shadowed by allegations of corruption and connections to the mafia. It's believed that gangsters intimidated and stuffed ballot boxes to get him elected. He never denied working with tough men, saying once, "You've got to deal with who has the power. If the mob has the power, you talk to the mob." That attitude made him effective, but also dangerous. Eventually, it caught up with him. In 1967, Hoffa was convicted of jury tampering, fraud, and conspiracy. He was sentenced to 13 years in federal prison. But even behind bars, he maintained a loyal following and never gave up hope of returning to the top of the Teamsters. When he got out, he was determined to reclaim what he felt was his rightful role as president of the Teamsters. Maybe in prison, he told a reporter during his incarceration. "But I'm still the Teamsters president in spirit. I'm not done yet." After serving nearly 5 years, Hoffa was released from Lewisburg Federal Penitentiary in December 1971. His freedom came thanks to a commutation from President Richard Nixon. James Riddle Hoffa released from prison on parole by President Nixon. But it came with a heavy condition. Hoffa was barred from engaging in union activity until 1980. Nixon's team likely thought this deal would keep Hoffa out of the spotlight, but they underestimated him. Hoffa had no intention of walking away from the power he had fought so hard to build. He began meeting with former allies, planning a political comeback, and publicly criticizing the current leadership of the Teamsters. There isn't a single violation covered by the provisions of the newly enacted legislation by the Senate. "I didn't build this union to have it stolen from me," he told one confidant. His determination worried many, not just union leaders, but the mafia bosses who had come to control the Teamsters' lucrative pension fund while Hoffa was locked up. Frank Fitzsimmons, Hoffa's hand-picked successor, had once been a loyal lieutenant, but by 1975, he had turned into an opponent. Fitzsimmons had forged strong ties with organized crime and he had no interest in giving up control. He made moves to cut Hoffa out entirely, restructuring power in ways that made a comeback almost impossible. "I wish to announce that I am a candidate for the General President of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters." The Mafia too had reasons to fear Hoffa's return. During his time in prison, they had used the Teamsters Central States Pension Fund to finance massive construction projects, often with shady connections and under-the-table deals. Hoffa's return threatened that cash flow. As he pushed harder to regain control, pressure began to build from all sides. Union bosses didn't want him back. Mob leaders feared what he might reveal or change. Yet, Hoffa pressed on. "Well, I appreciate the fact that he signed the commutation papers. Whatever effect will have on the members, I can't say. I haven't talked to any members." In July 1975, he tried to broker peace with one of his most bitter enemies, Anthony Provenzano, a mob-connected Teamsters leader from New Jersey. The two had a history of serious conflict. In prison, they had allegedly gotten into a heated confrontation that nearly turned violent. Hoffa claimed Provenzano had once threatened to kill him. To which Hoffa responded, "If you come at me, you better kill me, because if you don't, I'll kill you." Still, Hoffa believed that mending fences with Provenzano might clear the way for his return to power. A meeting was arranged for July 30, 1975, at the Marshus Red Fox. That meeting would be the last known sighting of Hoffa. One of America's most enduring crime questions. What happened to Jimmy Hoffa? What happened to him? What happened to Jimmy Hoffa? Vanished. Hoffa's disappearance and the day that changed everything. You know, this next one is one of America's greatest mysteries. Its origins right here in Metro Detroit. On July 30, 1975, Hoffa left his home in Lake Orion, Michigan. Sometime after 1 p.m., he told his wife, Josephine, that he was going to meet two men for lunch. Anthony Provenzano and Anthony Tony Jack Giacalone, a well-known Detroit mobster. Anthony Giacalone, who supposedly arranged a meeting between Hoffa and Anthony Provenzano so the two could patch up their friendship. The meeting was supposed to take place at 2 p.m. at the Marshus Red Fox, a restaurant in Bloomfield Township just outside Detroit. Hoffa arrived at the restaurant on time and waited in the parking lot, expecting the two men to join him. But according to all official accounts, neither Provenzano nor Giacalone ever showed up. Hoffa was seen pacing outside the restaurant, looking frustrated and checking his watch. Around 2:45 p.m., witnesses say he got into a car with one or more unknown individuals. That was the last confirmed sighting of him. After Jimmy Hoffa drives away in the Burgundy Mercury Marquis, everything after that is a theory. When Hoffa didn't return home by evening, Josephine grew worried. At first, she tried to stay calm. After all, Hoffa had sometimes been out late for meetings. But as the hours passed, she started calling around. She reached out to family members, close friends, and longtime Teamsters allies. No one had seen or heard from him. No one even knew he had a meeting scheduled. By the next morning, fear had replaced uncertainty. Josephine contacted the Bloomfield Township Police Department and filed a missing persons report. Given Hoffa's high profile and history of conflict with mob-connected figures, the report set off immediate alarms. Within hours, news of Hoffa's disappearance hit the wire services. Local news stations rushed to the Red Fox. National reporters followed quickly. Television crews set up outside the restaurant. Journalists from around the country began arriving in Michigan. The story spread fast and it was everywhere. The idea that Hoffa, one of the most powerful and controversial labor leaders in America, could simply vanish in broad daylight seemed unbelievable. And with this disappearance really started the most fascinating mystery in the criminal annals of America. Yet the facts were undeniable. His car, a green Pontiac Granville, was found in the restaurant parking lot. It was unlocked with no sign of a struggle. Hoffa's son, James P. Hoffa, a young labor lawyer at the time, joined the effort to search for his father.